Before we go deep into the parts that I chose, I want to explain the qualifying rule. For this project, every decision was based on the following priorities. First, tone. Second, feel. And third is aesthetics and everything else. When I was selecting the parts, I had to ask myself, first, does it maximize the tone that I'm looking for? If yes, does it support performance and comfort? And if yes again, does it look good? If I got a no in the wrong order of priorities, that probably meant it wasn't going to survive the decision process. With that being said, I am excited to walk you through what that decision process was and what I ended up landing on. The biggest decision, the one that made the whole project possible, was the bridge and vibrato. I considered keeping a traditional tele bridge and dropping a vibrato entirely, a Descendant system, a Staytrem with a traditional offset vibrato, or the Mastery M1 and MV. I will admit that a Bixby was really never in the running. A traditional tele bridge would have been an easy and familiar install, but it would have locked in the exact limitation I was trying to escape. I already have guitars that deliver direct attack and a fixed response. What I needed was expression, subtle movement in chords, swells, ambient textures, and sustained notes. Without that, there was no reason to build it. The Descendant was a strong contender. It fixes a lot of the usual Jazzmaster hardware complaints. It felt like a really thoughtful refinement, but it still lived inside the traditional offset world. Staytrem would have given me reliability while keeping more to that classic offset feel, but I wasn't building a refined Jazzmaster. The Mastery won because it connected everything: tone, feel, performance, and even visual identity. The M1 gives a firm, confident response under the picking hand, bigger contact, less shifting, and stable even when you're playing expressively. The MV delivered the exact kind of controlled movement I wanted: gentle shimmers, slight instability and sustains, the kind of thing that sits inside the worship arrangement instead of pulling focus. When mocking this up, visually, it changed the guitar. The tele body stopped looking modified and started looking like its own instrument. Most importantly, this Mastery setup has become the catalyst. Without it, this project probably never happens. When that decision was made, it was a significant milestone for the project. Everything downstream had to support and work with the Mastery. Now, this might be cheesy, but I've got to share. Somewhere in this process, I naturally started calling this guitar the TeleMaster. With the Telecaster body in mind and the Mastery system drawing from the Jazzmaster inspiration, the name just kind of happened. It may not truly be original. Other Telemasters exist out there, but it was original for me and this project. Next came the voice, the pickups. I looked at traditional tele pickups, Jazzmaster pickups, humbuckers, standard P-90s, and lower wind versions. Tele pickups are great, but they lean into that direct attack that I already have covered. The Jazzmaster pickups felt like the obvious early choice, but I didn't want to recreate the Jazzmaster formula. Humbuckers risk closing things off too much. The PAF humbuckers are a passion of mine, and I'm not denying it, they're my favorite. But I already have a few guitars with that voice, and moving in that direction would not support my vision of the role for this purpose-built guitar. So that leaves the P-90s. P-90s sat in the perfect middle ground. They give a single coil snap with more substance and dynamics. The Lollar 50s wine version is a lower output, more open, less compression and more space. It keeps the guitar from getting dense when effects or a full band are involved. It feels right for clean rhythm, swells, ambient textures, edge of breakup chords, and driven moments. My thinking is, if I'm going to be that purposeful with the pickups, the electronics need to protect that voice. I went with Emerson Customs harness. The quality was obvious from the moment it arrived. Emerson Customs has the reputation for premium wiring harnesses, and I see why. Mitch and team know what they're doing out there in Bixby, Oklahoma. Two major things to quickly call out on this particular harness. First are the 500K pots. That decision was directly connected to the pickup choice. P-90s generally benefit from 500K pots because the higher value allows more upper frequency content to remain present, especially important with the lower output 50s Wind P-90s. Second is the 4-way switch that has one more option than the typical Telecaster 3-way switch. The 4-way adds the 2 pickups in series. That position gives a fuller, stronger combined sound that behaves more like an additional voice. Remember how I said I love humbuckers? This is a kind of best of both worlds decision. The guitar can retain the openness of the individual P-90s and the clarity of the parallel combination while accessing a larger, higher output series voice when the arrangement needs it. The series option expands the guitar's role without undermining its core identity. The electronics aren't trying to add personality. They simply organize and protect what the other parts already created. The platform is an MJT Telecaster body routed specifically for the Mastery. I chose MJT because I didn't want the Mastery hardware to look like it was added later. I needed proper routing, P90 cavities, nitro finish, the aging I wanted, and a body that felt designed around the system from the start. I fell in love with the matte black in the early mock-ups. Under the satin nitro, they added a burst so any wear reveals something warm. This thing will age gracefully and only develop more character as time goes on. For the wood, I went back and forth on Alder versus mahogany. The problem wasn't finding the most resonant body. The problem was making sure the body didn't overpower everything else I had already chosen. Alder stays neutral and balanced, and my hope is that this wood selection will let the P90s breathe, the Mastery do its thing, and the whole guitar to remain responsive without the extra weight or congestion. My other guitars that I primarily rotate are mahogany. So knowing that this guitar, which is intended to be played live and often, will be lighter, that's a relief. The neck was the part that took the most mental energy. The bridge started the project, the pickups defined the voice, but the neck would decide if I actually wanted to reach for this guitar after 3 hours of practice. I compared Warmoth and Musicraft, traditional tele necks, 3x3 conversions, and different profiles and radiuses. Warmoth Vortex gave me everything in one package with the fewest compromises. Tilt back 3x3, roasted maple, dark rosewood, compound radius, the fret size I liked, and the confidence in the fit. I wanted a 3x3 headstock without the guitar looking like someone had attached a Gibson neck to a tele body. The Vortex created a different identity. A symmetrical 3x3 layout, something modern but not extreme shape, a cleaner relationship with the P90s and the Mastery hardware, and a visual cue that this was not intended to be a conventional Telecaster. The tilt back provides a clean break angle for the vibrato without the need for any string trees. And with the Graphtec Tusk XL nut, the tuning should be stable in supporting the Mastery vibrato. Plus, the white nut adds a small visual break. The roasted maple offers greater dimensional stability for the 11 to 50 strings, vibrato use, the tilt back headstock, and seasonal changes. Aesthetically, the darker color integrates well with the matte black, age, and understated design. Dark rosewood just feels right under my hand, and I elected to go with no face dots to keep the board clean. Black side dots were an aesthetic choice I accepted, even though Warmoth actually contacted me and said they would be hard to see. The 59 roundback profile, the compound radius, and the 6150 frets all support the same goal. Comfortable for chords and long voicings, capable for lead work without ever announcing itself. So, sitting in my studio with this neck in my hands, even though it's not part of a guitar yet, it just feels right. At this point, it feels like I made the right decision when it comes to the feel. Time will tell the rest when we get this thing put together. The tuners needed to match the 3x3 layout and aged look. The Gotoh vintage style non-locking tuners, 1. There are plenty of options out there, but most just seem to disappear into the design. And I've used Gotoh tuning machines in the past, and they have earned my trust. The locking versions were considered, but with everything else already in place, they weren't solving a problem I still had. I love locking tuners and have on most of the guitars that I use every day, so this was a decision that went a different way than I usually go. None of these parts are here because they're the best on paper. They're here because each one of them earned its place by solving a real problem that I was working on. I'm hoping that the decisions represented here are strategic enough to support the vision and follow our rule of tone first, feel second, and everything else after that. Designing a guitar is easy. Designing one where every decision supports the same purpose, that becomes the hard part. Right now, they're still just pieces on a table. Soon we'll find out if they can become one instrument. This is where the project becomes real. Over the next couple of weeks, I'll be working on putting the build video together. My hope is, if everything goes smoothly, you'll not only get to see the guitar built, but also see my first impressions when I play it. I'm real excited about the TeleMaster and the role that I've designed it for. So we'll catch you on the next one.